Hey everybody, welcome to week 2 in our 10-week live lesson series here on Bluegrass Kickoffs for Flatpicking Guitar. So just a brief sort of recap about what we're talking about. A kickoff is the introduction to a song. When you're getting together and performing bluegrass music at a performance of a band or at a jam session, this is the way it goes. One of the instruments will kick off the song by playing a version of the melody embellished with whatever sort of idiosyncratic techniques go with that particular instrument. On the banjo, it's the 3-finger roll. On the fiddle, there is usually just long melody notes with some sort of filigree licks sort of trailing off of that. Mandolin, you have all kinds of other things to do, double stops, tremolo, different techniques related to the mandolin. On the guitar, we have several techniques, many of which we sort of brushed on last week, and which I brush on pretty frequently in my bluegrass flatpicking lessons here on JamPlay. And namely, the melody strum and the crosspicking are two of the techniques that we use. And also, there's a lot of single note licks in the kickoffs. So I've done some series here for JamPlay that are strictly cross-picking, going through that style. Some of them are strictly melody strum, going through that style. Some of them are simply, single note melodies and licks strung together as far as like a bluegrass break, like a guitar solo. This is a kickoff, so it incorporates all of those things, but really stays true to the melody to introduce the theme of the song. So let's check out this song we're doing this week, East Virginia Blues, a good old traditional song, and I'll just kind of play it for you here and just listen once through. I'll sing a couple verses for you. I was born in East Virginia, North Carolina. So there you go. Lovely melody in the key of G, using our 1, 4, and 5 chords in that key. Our 1 chord is a G major. And a few ways to finger that. You got your bluegrass G, which has both of these fingers, the 3rd and 4th fingers down on the B and high E strings there on the 3rd fret. 2nd finger holds down the low G bass note and dampens the A string. Notice we're not doing that note, we're just dampening the A string. Oftentimes you might think I'm playing this fingering, but I'm actually lifting up my 3rd finger to hear that open B string. That's what I was doing just now. I almost always default to this particular fingering because it gives you the option of doing the closed G chord, as I call it, or the open G chord with that open B string ringing out. Anyway, that's your 1 chord, okay? 4 chord is a C major, and your 5 chord, of course, is a D major. And remember, whenever you're on the 5 chord, you have the option of playing a 5-7. Okay, so D7 is always an option there, just on the 5 chord. The other place you can throw in a 7th chord is on the 1 before you go to the 4 chord. That 1 with a dominant 7th, or a flatted 7, a G7 in other words, leads you up to that 4 chord. So those are the 2 places you could opt for an optional 7th chord in there. And for more details on any of this, check out my Bluegrass Rhythm Survival Guide on JamPlay. You'll find a lot more details about how, why, when, where, and all those things. Okay, so let's learn this song. Let's start by learning the chord changes and have a look at the lead sheet. We'll go ahead and pull that up, and I'm going to have a look just to make sure I'm playing it exactly as I arranged it for you. And you'll see this written in 2 different octaves. Let's start with the chord changes, okay? Just strum along with me, any style of strum you like. I usually prefer a boom strum rhythm. That is the basic rhythm for this style, okay? So here we go, strumming through the chords, and what I'll do is I'll just kind of sing the melody and cue you on the chords as we go. So we're reinforcing this song melody and changes in your head as you hear it. So from the top, here we go on the G chord, a 1, 2, 3, and a 1, and a 1, up to the 4, to the 4, and back to 1, and a 4, back to 1, and a 5, back to 1. One more time. Here's the 1, and a 1, up to the 4, and a 4, back to 1, back to 4, back to 1, and a 5, back to 1. There you go. You're going to hear that very same rhythm on the rhythm track that we're going to be playing along with. And of course, all you JamPlay members can download these resources once this lesson is up and archived. Okay? So let's have a look at the melody. You can probably kind of just read this along as we go. And what I'm going to do is put on the rhythm track at the slowest tempo. And let's go ahead and play this melody once through. So this is 50 beats per minute. Here we go. Now notice there's pickup notes. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. So the 4 is where we start playing. I'll count 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. And that's where it starts. So we're reading from the top of the page, and this is the high octave, the higher octave of the 2 that I've got written for you. A 1, and a 2, and a 3, and. Okay, let's play that one more time now. Same slow tempo. This is a live setting, so I'm expecting you to kind of learn this along the way as we go. Now, I'm not saying that anything bad is going to happen if you don't, but we're trying to learn this as we go. This is kind of the bluegrass way. So let's play that one more time, a nice slow tempo, just the simple melody from the lead sheet. A 1, and a 2, and a 3, and. Okay, now just to get a little bit more of the context of how this goes, because that's pretty slow, let's try the medium tempo of the 3. This is 70 beats per minute. Same thing, just playing the simple melody. A 1, 2, 3. Now that in itself is a fine kickoff. You're playing the melody pretty much note for note, and that's one way you can kick off the song. It all kind of just branches off from there and gets a little bit more decorated as we move forward. So if you're getting together, you've learned this melody, you've already accomplished the main part of this lesson, which is just to learn the melody, be able to play a basic kickoff of the song. But hey, we're flat pickers, right? So we're going to keep on moving. So in order to follow the trajectory that I'm going to be working through this arrangement, we're going to address the low octave, because this melody can be played in 2 octaves in open G. And of course, I didn't review this in the beginning, but we are in the key of G major, so make sure you're familiar with that G major scale. That's the scale we're working out of. In 2 whole octaves there in open position. So, and again, in most of my flat picking courses, I give a detailed run through of how to practice scales. You'll find that in the Bluegrass Flat Picking Method Phase 2 course here on JamPlay. So here we go in the low octave, and this is halfway down that page of the lead sheet. And here we go. Most of the time I make students figure this out on their own to transpose it themselves to the low octave. I went ahead and wrote it out for you to save time, and we're doing this live. So here we go with the slow tempo rhythm track, low octave of the melody. A 1 and a 2 and a 3 and... Pretty simple, right? How about at mid-tempo, just to move forward here, the melody in the low octave. A 1 and a 2 and a 3 and... Okay, very cool. And again, that's another version of a possible kickoff for the song. When you hear certain players, you're going to hear a variety of styles. You'll hear really flashy players like Tony Rice who really embellish the melody. You'll hear players like Norman Blake who might do like a lot of melody strum and other things like that, but never embellishing the melody itself, not really changing it around. So, you know, make sure you check out this style quite a bit. Listen to Norman Blake, listen to Tony Rice, listen to Dan Crary, Doc Watson, Clarence White. There's so many great players out there. And then, of course, modern current players like Molly Tuttle, Billy Strings, Brian Sutton, Tyler Grant. Hey, anyway, so now let's check out the melody strum. So, and again, this is something that I could spend the entire lesson just going over this, so I'm going to keep it brief and show you a very basic version of the melody strum, and that's why we need this low octave arrangement of the melody. It sounds cool in the low octave, you know, I mean, those big fat low strings on the guitar, that's part of the fun of playing this instrument, right? And we have lower notes than any of the other bluegrass instruments aside from the bass. The banjo only goes down to D. The mandolin's lowest note is that one. So we got this whole slew of lower notes that we can play the melody with. So that's part of what the guitar brings to the bluegrass mix, are the low notes. You know, oftentimes lead guitar players want to go for high notes. Just remember that we got these low notes, and that's part of what we're bringing to the table in the Bluegrass Jam. So make sure you know those melodies in the low octaves, and keep in mind those licks in the low octave have a lot of girth and a lot of power. So make sure you know all that stuff. So here we go on the melody strum. So it sounds like this. I'm just throwing in strums in the spaces between the melody notes. And that melody is always the lowest note. So I'll just run you through the basic fingerings real quick. Everything is based on the actual chord shapes. So I'm starting by, I'm not holding down a full G chord, but I'm just going to put my fingering in place there and play those first melody notes. Then I'm just strumming whatever remains of the chord with this note ringing out. In other words, I don't strum those bass notes. I let that low melody note ring and strum everything that's above it. Then we got melody notes again. Then strums while that low melody note rings out. Then the next melody notes. And then strumming the remainder of that C chord. And you see, I'm not holding down that low C note. If you hold it down, that's fine, but it's tempting to play that note when you're holding it down. So I just kind of hold down a partial version of that chord, because this finger here is holding down that melody note. Then melody, back to your partial G chord there. Then C chord, partial C chord. G chord. And then here's the open A, which lives under the D chord. It's part of the D chord, the open A string, it's the fifth of the chord, and then melody. So this might be, you know, kind of a lot to throw in, like right on the spot like this, but I'm going to go ahead and play it. If you're ready, play along with me in this very simple arrangement of the melody strum with the track at the slow tempo. A 1 and a 2 and a 3 and... as you can hear, that really fills in the arrangement. It's a type of self-accompaniment. So this is the type of style that I might opt for if I was performing this song solo. And let me sort of demonstrate how I might do this a little bit more musically. I've written out the basic components of it, the melody and the strums. Now it's up to you to make it musical. Add some different rhythms, give it a little bit of a bounce, and that's just comes down to playing this often and listening to this style. Again, I would recommend listening to Norman Blake for this kind of style. So here I am kicking the song off using this arrangement, but sort of dressing it up with a little bit more rhythm and a little bit more musicality. Now at a little bit faster tempo, so you'll hear how the kind of bluegrass groove plays into it. 1, 2, 3. So that's one example of how you take these basic building blocks and evolve them just through the feel and your own kind of natural groove into something a little more musical. Wonderful. Well, now let's move along to the actual kickoff. And there's a page for that you're looking at. And here goes. I'm opting for the higher octave to place this kickoff, just because we've kind of covered the low octave now, and I'm giving you this kickoff as something that you can perform with a group setting. And the higher octave tends to punch through the group a little bit better. Anyway, if you like this kickoff, go ahead and arrange a low octave version for yourself. But here we go. We're starting with this. So I should first kind of talk about this cross-picking pattern. Let's go to the open D, G, and B strings and go like this. That's the cross-picking pattern we're going to be playing here. So open D, open B, those are both downstrokes, and then up, down, up, down, up, down on those same strings. Down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. 2, 1 more time. Down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. 2, 1 more time. Down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So these strokes are written in the details of the arrangement here. So you can download that notation and really look it over once we get through the lesson. So the first measure is... Okay, so the fingering, I'm going to start with my third finger right here on the 3rd fret of the B string, and then the second finger will make that slide from the 2nd to the 4th fret of the G string, and then your first finger is in a partial bar. You're representing a G triad. So you got that slide happen, and that's your downstroke, and then your next downstroke is on the high E string. Then you got up, down, up, down, up, down. So let's just try that kickoff, the pickup notes and the beginning of that measure. So it'll sound like... Let's just go that far, and we'll do that a few times. A 1, and a 2, and a 3, and... Now it's important to alternate these strokes if you're an alternating style player, as I am. If you're a down, down, up player and you know that about yourself, you might be a little ahead of me. I don't need to explain this to you if you know you're a down, down, up player. If you don't know and you haven't explored this as far as your 3-note cross-picking, there's 2 styles. There's alternating and there's down, down, up. I'm an alternator, so that's how I'm arranging this. And if you are a down, down, up player, you are pretty far ahead of the game if you know that about yourself. So that's why I'm not going to go into those details right here. I'm just going to do this alternating. So one more time from the top, a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and down, 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 up, down, up, down, up, down. One more time, a little bit slower just to make sure you all get it. 1, 2, 3 and okay. Right after that, you got the open G, then that same slide from the 2nd to the 4th fret, then play both of those notes there together, and then a slide down to the open G. Okay? So just that much. Okay, we're taking this one piece at a time, because once you get these techniques down, the rest is all just following the same patterns. A 1, 2, 3, and the next step is a little, what I call the #1 most important lick in this style. So it's an upstroke on the G, then a down, up on the D, 2nd fret, then open, then back to your G. Okay, and that's just a little bit of a filler. We call that a G run. It's a type of G run. Lots of different types of G runs. But we're using that just to fill that space there. And then after that, these are pickup notes to the next measure. So open B, up the scale, down, up, down with your pick. And now you're on an open E chord when we get to the open E string when we get to the C chord. And then as soon as you play that, you play it again with a downstroke. So you're playing the exact same cross-picking pattern as we did before, but starting on this high E and then repeating it. So here's your down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So let's just do that a couple times. I'll repeat that. Down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. 2, ready, go. Down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. 2, ready, go. Down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. 2, one more time. Okay. Then we got this. And that's just an embellishment of those melody notes in that section of the song. So it's playing starting on a C note. Just basic 1, 2, 3, 2, 1 of a C chord. And then I'll use my first finger to slide up to the 3rd fret because we're going to be back in our same little cross-picking pattern we did on the G chord. Okay? So why don't we just try up to that point where I just landed, and that's the first half of the kickoff basically, okay? So from the top, I'm just gonna count you in real slow. We'll do this without the track, and here we go. A 1, and a 2, and a 3, and realized kind of reading through it that time that this, I've got a pull off written there. Up, down, pull off, down. So you could pick that if you wanted to. I know I instructed you to pick it the first time through, but I've got it written with a pull off, so that actually makes it easier on the picking hand. One more time, same thing, the first half of this kickoff. A 1 and a 2 and a 3 and. Now let's play that much with the track. We might as well. We're on a roll here. So here we go with the rhythm track at the slowest tempo, the first half of the kickoff. A 1 and a 2 and a 3 and. Do you want to try that again? I'll bet you do. And let's run it again because again, this is most of the important techniques are covered here. So we're working on that little cross picking pattern mainly. So here we go, same deal, first half of the kickoff with the rhythm track at 50 beats per minute. A 1 and a 2 and a 3 and. So we're squeezing a lot into this session of about 40, 45 minutes, 50 minutes, however long this turns out. This is a short amount of time to get a lot of this information. So depending on what level you are and how much you understand this style already, this might be something you got to come back to and work on at your own pace. And that's totally fine. I'm just kind of laying it out for you here. And you're picking up as much of this in our live setting as you can. And that's really good for your mind, really good for your musicality. It's a great exercise. However, I don't expect you to be able to keep up with every single note and like have this down by the end of the lesson. This is something you can always come back to. Okay? So that being said, we're moving on to the, we just landed here at the fourth full measure. Now we do this. Now that's pickup notes using the G major pentatonic and then slide up to that E note, which is the melody note, and it's in unison with your open E string. So this is a very common thing in this flat picking style where you'll slide up to a note, then play its unison on the next open string. We got that little pentatonic melody, open E, third fret of the B. That's the number 2 most important lick in flat picking. And again, you'll learn that in my bluegrass flat picking method if you haven't gone through that course yet. It's outlining the chord, right? It's the 1, 2, 3, 5, 3, 2, 1. So it really defines the sound of that chord that you're on. And I'm working it around these melody notes. Okay? So from there, I get right into a little bit of bluegrass licks. Okay? And that's Bluegrass 101 right there. Using a pentatonic pattern with that flatted third added, okay? And then that's just a little bit of filigree. Okay, because there's no melody note there. The melody note coming up, we're going to work around it this way. Okay, see, this is our target note, and we're just working up the scale around it and embellishing it that way. And once you're there, you're going to be holding down a D chord, and what? There's that same little cross-picking pattern on that 3 notes of your D chord that you're fretting there. Okay? So before we get to how this wraps up, let me just review what we did. So we landed on the 4th measure here on the G chord. Now here's the pickup notes to the next measure. Open G, 2nd fret, open B, 3rd fret, and then slide up a whole step to the E note, 5th fret, and then open E, and then this lick on the C chord, right? Then immediately onto this G chord lick. Okay, and then right into this lick. And that's all alternating, down, up, down, up, down. Okay? Then these notes, which are embellishing the melody. And then the cross picking on the D chord. Okay? Then moving on from there, we got this. Another very, very common bluegrass guitar lick. You hear that bluesy sound of that flatted 3rd in there. Then a regular old G run. Okay, open A, 1st fret, 2nd fret, open D, 2nd fret, open G. Then you're working yourself back to your boom strum that way. Once you hit that open G, strum, open D, strum, then your low bass note strum, and then you're back to your boom strum pattern from there. So each of these tracks, just like last week, are going to kind of keep continuing playing a G chord rhythm for a couple bars so you can get back into your boom strum. And then you might hear the click keep going for a few more beats, but it doesn't repeat the form because, again, you're really counting on the vocalist. When the vocalist enters, that is when the next downbeat is. So it's tricky to loop these forms when you're actually in a bluegrass jam context or a performance context, because the singer might enter right at the end of this arrangement, or it might wait a couple beats or even a full measure before the singer comes in and starts singing. So you're following the lead in this style. And there's what I call a trail off, often at the end of a kickoff, as we're doing here, or even at the end of your break later in the song. Okay? So here we go. This is a really solid kickoff for this song. If you work this up and you bring it to your bluegrass jam, everyone's going to be really impressed. Now, you have the opportunity at my Monday night play-along bluegrass jams online to join me, and I do a slow tempo jam, mid-tempo jam, and fast tempo jam on Mondays on my Facebook page and my YouTube channel. So come play along. It's a great way to put these things into practice and to learn how to develop your own kickoffs to a lot of these standard songs. Okay? It's a very safe space, so come on over and join us on Monday nights. Now here we go. Well, let's play this kickoff as best we can with the rhythm track at slow tempo. A 1, 2, and 3, and... more time, same thing. Here we go. A 1 and a 2 and a 3 and... Okay, there you go. We've kicked it off successfully. So now let's jump up to the mid-tempo, 70 beats per minute. A 1, 2, 3. Take this at your own pace, of course, but we're out of time here, so I'm going to try it once at the performance tempo of 90 beats per minute. Here we go. A 1, 2, 3. So there's nothing to it from here but to actually get in and start playing this music. So join me on the Monday night play along jams. Check out the rest of my courses here on JamPlay to get more in depth into these methods. And come on back next week when we're going to learn an entire new song with a new kickoff. And as I always tell folks who are studying guitar, take this and learn it, internalize it, then do your own thing with it. This is showing you methods that you can apply to lots of songs, to basically any song in this style. So I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. I've really enjoyed being here with you on a Wednesday. And we'll break now and send in some questions. Hey everybody, I'm chiming in here live for some questions. J. Williams 57, any guidance on finger choice on the kickoff would be helpful. So I'm in open position throughout. The only difference in the fingering is when I get to the D chord. I'm based around the chord shapes for the most part. I guess I should say the chord shapes are the only exception to actually being in open position. So being in open position, that means first finger plays the first fret, second finger plays the second fret, third finger plays the first fret, third fret, fourth finger plays. Each finger's on its respective fret. Okay? So I kind of did this along the way when I was teaching the lesson, but third finger starts there, and then you're in that position. And then yeah. So I mean, I basically did that through the lesson. I think I was kind of showing you where to go. And if there's anything specific that you need, any particular phrase that I missed the fingering on, let me know. Is bluegrass played from the major scale always? I'm going to direct you to my bluegrass flat picking method to answer that question in detail. But the short answer is no. It's everything that I play is based on the major scale. Everything that I play is based on the major scale, including blues, because I use the major scale as the basis for analyzing what's happening. So if you're playing a blues lick, you know, I've got the fifth, I've got the fourth, those are from the major scale. Then I've got the flatted third, right? Then the tonic, then the flatted seven. So it's understanding the major scale that helps you to understand everything else about music. So different players might have different sort of control groups for how they analyze things. For me, it's all major scale. So there's too complicated an answer for that, but the simple way to think about it is, if you really know your major scale, all of these questions are going to be answered for you. Can pickup notes be an entire measure? What constitutes pickup notes? Pickup notes are an impartial measure that leads to the downbeat. So sure, pickup notes could be an entire measure. So let me try to demonstrate. So think about the top of this melody. So 1, 2, 3. I was born. That is the downbeat. 2, 3, 4, and 1. So on this kickoff, we're using pickup notes that are just the 4 and before the 1. So if I was doing pickup, so that sounds like 1 and a 2 and a 3 and 4 and 1. If I was doing an entire measure of pickup notes, let me see if I can conceptualize this. It might sound like this. I'm going to give you a full measure and then one full measure of pickup notes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a full measure of pickup notes. It can be done. It doesn't happen very often. Most pickup notes are either on the 4 and, or the and 4 and, or 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and. It's usually an impartial measure, but that's a good question. Taco Tuesday, is it possible to do a melody strum with the melody on the top? So let's see here. Where can I direct you for that? I think in my bluegrass flat picking method, I address this. You can arrange melodies with the melody on top. However, it doesn't work for melody strum because, let's see here. A song that I really like working with in this way is Amazing Grace. So if I'm in C, well, let's knock it up. Let's use this same song we've been using, East Virginia Blues. I can arrange a self-accompanied arrangement of that with the melody on top. It would sound like this. So the melody is always the highest note. itself nicely to like lush, pretty arrangements like that. I don't see how you would work that into a strum though. The melody strum is pretty specific to having the melody as the bass note. So again, the method for having the melody as the high voice rather than the low voice is to play the melody notes in the higher octave and strum the chord only up to that melody note, keeping that melody note always on the top. So that's a nice, pretty way to do it. The only way you could really keep the melody on top as a self-accompanied kind of rhythmic thing would be cross-picking. So that's arranging some cross-picking with the melody all the way on top. You can do whatever you want. I would like to hear what you come up with. If you wanted to experiment with that, go ahead and send it over. Can you recommend one of yours to someone else's or someone else's course on JamPlay for getting into the basics of bluegrass? Yes, there is a brand new course that we have released called Bluegrass Flatpicking for Beginners. So go there here on JamPlay and you'll see all that. Well, thanks for sending in the questions, everybody. And you can hit me up in the chat messenger on JamPlay if you have anything more specific. And I will get in there. I know I haven't always been great at checking my inbox, but I'll make it a point to check it once a week if you want to send in any more questions. And thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you next Wednesday.